So someone asked for a review on my welder, and I'll do one. I'll just run through what I've done and how it all runs. So I've modified it to take a 7 kilo spool at the back. Doesn't really matter how you do it. It's a bit messy, but a hole through the back. Just run a sheath up to the drive rollers and then out to the 8 meter push-pull gun. Pretty straightforward. Works well, been through about. Push-pull gun, interesting little beast. Love it, it's the most fantastic thing ever. But underneath that tape is all the buttons to control it. And they suck because every time you lay the gun down, you don't always lay it on that side. When you do, you end up undoing the tensioner, and that's a pain in the butt on its own. But then if you lay it on this side, it presses the buttons and you go to use it and it's way over amped or over induction. So it's under. I don't like it. The buttons should have a lock so that the system locks and you don't have to worry about it. You can just use the buttons when you want to use them or unlock them and use them. It's very painful that they unlock on their own. So as far as settings go, I adjust it all the time for the different thickness. At the moment that's on 3.8, which I'm doing edge to edge 4mm. I'm still running it in their factory settings. I just adjust the current to what I want it to be, like adjust the material thickness. As far as settings, obviously MIG. I run single pulse, not double pulse. I find double pulse to be not as good as single pulse. 2T, 4T doesn't matter. That is hot start, which is on, and then if you go through to extra settings, and then I go through start force 5, hot start on, pre-gas I run for half a second or 0.6 of a second, start current 120%. Just I usually welding cold, so I want a little bit of heat when I start. Start timer is 1.5 seconds before it tapers off, and then the start slope 0.2 seconds. So once it starts to taper off, it's very quick to get back to current, back to heat. Induction correction, I just run it at -3. Actually, it should be +3. Burn back 0, stop slope. As you can see there, half a second, stop current, set 60%, post gas 1.5, and then that's that. If you go through, obviously argon 1.2 wire, argon because it's aluminium, and select it's so it's 5183 wire for the 5083 aluminium, but they don't have that on here. In aluminium, you've got 4043 and 5356. So I just run it in 5356. Seems to work fine. Had advice from people that should work fine. Oops. And that's basically my settings. You can see +3 there on the voltage. I just run it a little bit up from what they recommend. I always leave it at +3. I like that setting. +3, +4. I'll come back to +3. It still works well. If I start to go any other higher or lower, I notice it. I don't like the way the gun works or how the weld works. It auto selects wire speed. Yeah, that's the machine. Great, works fantastic. I'm very happy that I bought it. It's done a fantastic job on the boat. The fuel tank do a lot of it's with the MIG. When I try and do some neat stuff, I use the TIG, but mostly it's all MIG'd. Unimig Razor 200 is my TIG machine, set up just for the aluminium at the moment with the AC. I have a 185 which I just use for steel. It's set up permanently for steel, so I don't have to mess around with two different welders with swapping wire in and out, especially on an 8 meter gun. You waste a lot of wire, and that's about where I'm at. So clamps, can't have enough clamps. There's not many clamps here. There's a lot of clamps still in the boat at the moment. Clamps are really important. I use the metal ones for the hot areas. I use a lot of quick grips for just wherever I need to pull things up. Clamps are so important. You need a lot, especially if you're working on your own. You can get away with a lot with a straight bar and a clamp. Right, I don't know, everyone probably knows, but with aluminium, if you're using a die grinder, they do these really good chunky die grinders, which are just fantastic and just eat the aluminium and don't clog up. They are a bit aggressive and they do tend to jump around, so you have to hold them really tight. But when you're taking your tacks out, it's very important to do that. That makes your job a lot easier. I built my own aluminium bender. Well, just a fault like a brake press, but I haven't done any of the aluminium for the boat with it because it needed to be a 12.5 mil radius, and I haven't got that ability, so I've had to outsource that to engineers, which cost quite a lot. But that one there I can use for straight edges. I'm building a rod locker for the boat, so that's just out of the normal aluminium you buy from Ulrich aluminium, and I can bend that at 90, so that's that one. So it can be used for just standard, it just can't be used for the 50 83. It's just a little bit too, it cracks if you try and bend it too sharply. Right, grinders and drills. I've got 2 battery grinders, 2 drills. I got the battery jigsaw. I also run electric. All my aluminium cutting, if I'm not using a big drop saw, I run this little blade. It just eats aluminium, just in the electric. And then I've got, for any of the good straight cuts, I've got a proper cold cut saw. Sanding on the machine, on the sander, anywhere where you're sanding, cutting, I always use wax. Waxes just helps with the aluminium cutting and sanding, definitely. Otherwise the sandpaper clogs up, saw blades clog up. Just keeps it all nice and clean. Compressor, the welding trolley for the boat, so that I can fit it over the gunnels, have the cord over the edge of the gunnel so it fits over, easier to reach and get in there. Since I put the boat on the trailer, it's a little bit higher, it doesn't quite reach, but it still works quite fine. But if it was down lower on a normal welding trolley, it'd be a mongrel to get to. At least when I can have it near the edge, I can be in the boat and access the controls when I need to get to it straight away.